Hey Linda, glad to catch you. Yeah. Um, I'm a little bit late today, but working in the yard sounds nice to be honest. Anyway, I'm just gonna get everything set up and then I'll get started. I'm happy with this tutorial today. I think it turned out nice. I'm pretty happy. So we'll get into it in just a second. If you're catching me, feel free to drop in the comments, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And we're gonna have a little Photoshop brush fun. It will be good. And it'll be easy. And the cool thing is that I'll give you the brushes and the demo files and all that for my subscribers after the live stream. So that's gonna be fun. Hey, Gotta Leave, super happy to see you. I've just been doing so much lately. It's just been really hard to jump on a live because I'm trying to get my business life in order, and as much as I just want to be like creating new content, yeah, it's just I have other things that I need to work on as well. So just trying to balance that. But oh my gosh, all I want to be doing is doing fun stuff like this. Hopefully soon I can finally get all this stuff in place that I can just really be focusing on the creative part and not working so much on the boring bits. But this was like a little bit of a fun challenge, and I like how it turned out. And I think these are really, I think these are quite, to turn out quite pretty, and you can use them for a lot of different things. But obviously, yeah, so I was inspired by the Rihanna look at the Met Gala. Of course, last night I was checking out the look, seeing what everybody was wearing. Of course, it's like wild and crazy. And then because it was a tribute to Karl Lagerfeld, there was a lot of camellias. I don't know, not camellias. I guess it's camellias, which was like the typical Chanel flower. So I thought it'd be like a really fun challenge when I saw this look to try to recreate that sort of like the white on white. I thought that would be a really cool design challenge. And just to try to get that like kind of that softness. A lot of my brushes as is were or the color palettes that I have tend to make more of a shinier look. So this was about kind of getting those color palettes right and then getting that soft, um, like a soft sort of look. And what I ended up going with, hey Deb, super, thanks for dropping in. I'm always happy whenever I see your guys' comments. So what I ended up with my palettes were something like this, and I made different versions of them. So most of you guys, I will kind of go through it a bit fast because I know you guys are um, really like familiar with my Photoshop mixer brush technique and doing that sort of thing. But if you're not familiar with working with the Photoshop mixer brush, I have a foundation tutorial down below. But these were the color palettes that I ended up with, and kind of a pearlescent sort of thing. And I wanted that, I knew it would have like a kind of a soft, fluffy effect if I made a spherical shape. And I wanted, yeah, like kind of a gentle gradient. And so I ended up with these, and trust me, I did not just get to these. I did a lot of experiment, which now I'm annoyed that I didn't screen record my whole process. I did some of it, but um, yeah, so I'm just going to show you really quick. And I made some different versions of these. So I made some darker ones that you guys can play with. And then I made like these kind of regular pearls, and also I made some more like softer refined pearls, but most of the time I'm going to be using these pearls that I made as my palette. And I'm going to show you really quick how I actually made those, because it was kind of a process to find this, that nice soft gradient. And I didn't want to just do like a radial fill, because then it will feel really like, I don't know, almost like vector. I wanted this kind of different colors, and like maybe a little bit of like imperfection would look really nice. So actually what I did was I started off using my pattern painter, or my palette makers brushes. And I have the color dynamics on this one. So what I did is, I'm just going to show you here just really a brief rundown. So I started off making it like this, like some of my typical palettes. And let's see here. So what I did was I went into my modern impressionist color blends for the impressionist color blends, because you can also make wet palettes from these. And so what I did was I actually like grabbed a kind of a gray one, and I wanted to have these borders here. And then I went like a little bit lighter and grabbed kind of one of my lighter ones, did something like this. So you can see the one that I made are right over here already. And then I got a lighter one. So I kind of wanted to introduce those colors that's not just black and white or just a plain old gradient or whatever. So I had made that. So this is kind of, this was my starting point, like something like this. And let me just put this on a new layer, which is Command Shift J. I use that all the time. And so what I was like, oh, what I thought to myself is, oh, I need to smooth that out a little bit. I need to like soften this up, because when I took, like, say for example, when I option click and loaded this color into this, oops, wrong brush here. Like say, like I just grab a brush, I'm gonna option click, load that into it. It's making a very like shiny sort of, because you have all those colors, which normally I like. Let me move this to the top here. And okay, so I wanted to soften it all, like to before I use it as the palette. So what I actually did was I just took like a soft brush, like a soft wet brush. You can use just anything. Basically, it's just I took a spherical kind of shape, like one of the default Photoshop brushes, and I took the hardness way down and the spacing. So just, you could do something like this. That one's too small, but anyway, let me just go back to the one I had. So I just took a brush and I just kind of wiggled it like this, and I got something a bit like you see here. So I'll just go ahead and do that onto, and I, let's see here, let me find this layer. So let's go to this one that I had already. So I just did something like that, and I was, you know, pretty happy with it. You could kind of still see some irregularities around the edges, which I liked, but it gives it a pearlescent vibe. But what I also did to make it a little more dramatic, and one thing though that I did is I left it with the soft edges. I so used a brush that gave it a soft edge. This one really didn't, but I'm just gonna show you here. Let's move, oh my gosh, let's move these out of the way. Let's delete this. So let's just take this one for example. I'll just go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and let me just make, it gives it a little bit of blur, whatever. Anyway, but what I did do is I went to my layer styles and I gave it, let's see here, a little bit of, what was it, bevel and emboss. So I bevel and embossed it to give it more of a rounder effect. So that's one thing that I did. And I think, I don't know if I had a drop shadow on, but anyway, basically I did a bevel and emboss, and that gave it more of a spherical look. And so I was like really happy with how that turned out. And I won't worry that it's going to be like perfect. These are the ones that I actually created. This one has got a little bit more of a harsh outline, which I don't necessarily need. But then, so I was happy with it. I'm like, okay, this is a good base. This is like going to work. This is, you know, I was doing lots of experiments earlier today to really kind of nail this down. And, but the thing is here's the bevel though, that's fine. This one's a little bit dark. This one wouldn't work for our purposes, but just to show you the whole process. So, but before you want to like use this as our palette to sample those colors, what I need to do is I need to like right click on this, and I need to rasterize the layer style. Otherwise, when you pick up the color, it's only going to pick up the color from the image and not that whole effect. Hey Katya, super happy to see you. Yay! So I got that. And then one thing that some of them looked a little bit like like when they were not finished, I wanted to blur them a little bit more. So one thing that I also did was, and it's not really, you're not going to really, I don't know if you'll see it on this one, is I took this like pearl shape and I went to filter, blur, and I did a radial blur. So I went here and I'll click OK. And that just blurs it a little bit. So that just gave me those soft look. But the ones that I made, this one actually is turning out really like pearl-like, but the ones that I made were just a little bit like less than perfect, but I liked how that turned out. So these are the ones that I did here. And so you guys that are my subscribers all have this this file for you to use. So I had like the regular ones. I made some that were a little bit darker. And then I made some that were a little bit more refined. And I actually gave these like a blur or something so that you didn't have some of those rough edges. So that was kind of the whole thing to figure out how to get those like nice gradients that we're going to load up into the brush and give it that really like soft white sort of effect. So these are the palettes we're going to be using. And yeah, it was a whole process, but what I'm trying to do now is also like when I'm experimenting, I'm trying to like remember to screen record so you guys can kind of see I'll have it like on an unlisted video, but if you want to see how I, kind of see my whole process, I'm, usually not shy to like share that whole thing. And so then I got the brush stroke down for the camellia. So I was really happy. Two other things that I did experiment with, and I'll show you later, is I was looking that Rihanna had some jewelry, and so I was like, oh, maybe I'll kind of incorporate that into the motif. So I actually figured out how to make these like really, really nice soft sort of pearl. And I can also show you how to make this jeweled necklace. And I'm actually not using a layer style here. I'm actually using the wet paint mixer brush technique, something a little bit different I think that you might like to see. So, but first of all, we're just going to paint the camellia, I think it is. I'm not really sure. Okay, let me close this. Don't save. And let's see here. So this is the one that I did. I think it looked really nice. It has that sort of voluminous thing, and there's no 3D modeling or anything like that. This is all Photoshop brushes. And then the first thing though that I did was I put, let's just move this down here. Actually needed some kind of guides. And the funny thing that I found was like a Chanel bracelet, a photo of a Chanel bracelet. And I actually used that as my tracing template. So I just went over it. And I got this nice leaves sort of motif here. And it really helps me to keep that, having a guide really helps me keep on task. And one thing that I did notice whenever I was looking at it is it kind of, with this motif, maybe not in the real flower, but with this motif, it alternates between like kind of round shapes and then ones that have like a double thing there, kind of a twisty. So, we've got the center. These ones that are just around it are like quite round, but then the ones that are here are like kind of a heart-shaped leaf, that are going around there. Then the next set is round, 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 and then the next set is that double sort of motif. So that's something that really helped me to like kind of keep on task and be able to kind of get that signature look and have it really read as that camellia sort of motif. So let me hit save. And I just fiddled around with my brushes. And let's see here. So where is my pearls large? Okay. So here is, oops, put it on a new layer. So here's a brush that I created for this, super basic. But between the brush settings and the palette that we loaded, it gives that really soft, sort of poofy sort of look. So I was really happy with that. And this brush is just, like a default Photoshop brush tip, the circle. or it's one that I made with like a gradient anyway. Yeah, no, because it doesn't have the hardness settings. So it's just a soft kind of a gradient sphere. And all I've done is taken the spacing down to 1. And I have the angle jitter set to direction, but that really doesn't make any difference on this. And the size, I have the size controlled by the pen pressure because I'm using a pen tablet. So that is how we have that stroke. So let me save this. Now, oh, thank you so much, Claudie. Yay, I'm glad you like. One thing though that I will show you is whether the direction of your brush stroke will give you different effects. So this is something to keep in mind. So like if I go like clockwise, we're going to have this darker gray and then the white at the bottom. But if I go counterclockwise, you know, then it's still going to pretty like look similar. But this is something really interesting to keep in mind. You know, it's based on what you load up into that brush. So here you can see a preview of the little pearl kind of shape that I've loaded up into the brush. But to keep, you know, to make sure that they're not always the same is, you know, one time you can brush a leaf going this way, and then the next time, you know, brush a leaf going the other direction, and it'll give you some, you know, difference that's really good. And also the reason these are actually, let's see, yeah. So these are 3 different shapes that I made, but what I did was I rotated them 4 different ways. So I have like one with a shadow on the bottom, one with a shadow on the top, one with a shadow here, one with a shadow here. And so I did that so that you can have fun and sample, like you could sample from this one and then you could sample from this one, and they're both going to look different. So depending on which stroke you want to do. Oh, hey, David, super glad that you could join. Just having a little fun, being goofy. So yeah, I'm just going to like show you the difference here. So I'm going to load up, because like, say if, for example, if you're taking the brush stroke from like left to right, you're really going to see the colors that are on the left side of this, that are loaded up into your brushes. So you're really not going to see the other ones, because if you're going there, it's, you know, it's going to basically, whichever way you pull, if you go from like top to bottom, you're going to see the colors that are on the top of this sampled area more. So by rotating that, that little color palette, it gives you more variation. So that's fun. So I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to option click, and I'm going to load up one of these colors. And now this color palette is actually a little bit big. So what I might do is, this is something, maybe I'm just going to shrink my document size actually. So I'm going to say color palette flat, but instead I'll just, I will file, save a copy, palettes, flat copy. Okay. So I'm just going to open that copy up. So palette, flat copy, open. And now I'm going to go image size. Let's take this down to like 3000, because this is actually a really big color palette. A lot of the times when the color palette is not the right size, I will lower the brush size, or I'll, you know, in this case, I will make the brush size bigger, load up that color, and then I'll go back to my thing and make the brush size smaller again, and then I can paint. But sometimes if you're doing that all the time, it's a little bit annoying, so I just rather change my color palette size. So I'm going to try this now. So I'm going to try that brush that I was just using, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to option click. And now it's a little bit better size. Now I don't have, you know, it's pretty filling that up, but I might just change it a little bit more. So I might go image size, let's say 2500. Okay. And so this way I'm just not always constantly changing my brush size to load up the color, go back, change my brush size again. So sometimes it's better just to change the color palette size. So I've loaded that up, and then I'm going to go, let's see here, what document was I on? So here is like the first one. And you can see you know, going top to bottom, you know, it'll look different, but, you know, it'll look different ways. And then let's go here. I'll go and sample from this one. And now the highlights changed. So then I can go back to my document. And, you know, it's just going to have a different look to that brush stroke, and the light part is going to be on different. So it's good to just sample from different ones and vary it up, especially for this, because we're going to do white on white. So that's like really, you know, key. So hopefully that's somewhat useful for you guys for the future. Just, you know, just a little tips on like loading things into your brush. Oh, hey, William, really happy to see you. I actually haven't been going live on YouTube because apparently going live hurts my views. So I've just been doing the tutorial recaps there, but sometimes I just went on. So yeah, but if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can follow me on Behance and you won't miss any live streams. But hey, Surya, super happy to see you. Anyway, I'm glad that I got to catch some people today. That's like really nice. It's always more fun if I can catch you guys, you know, catch some people than if it's just a few. But I appreciate the few that are there whenever you guys are. It's nice. Okay, so back to the flour. This is the main meat and potatoes of this thing. So I thought about starting from working inward out, but I actually decided to work out in. So I think it turned out nice. So I started with this large brush. Oops, good grief. And I make sure I have my sketch layer above, and I left it there, and that just helps guide me, keep me on track. So I'm gonna make this green because this is gonna start my new group. I'm gonna hit save, and I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. And we are gonna get rocking and rolling, and it's really not that hard. So hopefully you guys will have fun with this afterwards. All right, so I got this large brush. So I'm just going to, so what I did, okay, so I'm doing the outer leaves and I'm keeping them in groups. So this is like group 1, group 2, we've got group 3, we've got group 4, we've got the center. So I'm just gonna make like a pretend little leaf here, and I'll just go ahead and go to the, let's see here. This might be a little bit big here. Okay, so I'm just going to, sometimes it's going to be hard because it's on this gray background. I could go a little bit darker. Wait, let me just, while I draw, I'll put it just a little bit darker. But I like that tone on tone personally. Okay, I don't know if that's, no, because it's going to be, I'm going to leave it at that because it's going to be, what's your, okay, I'm just going to stick with this one. So, all right, this is the large brush. So I'll just make my leaf. Every leaf is going to be on its own layer though, because otherwise they're going to like bleed together and it's not going to look nice. So I'm making a new layer, and then let me just hide some of this stuff here. Okay, this is kind of a vibe that I liked anyway. Limited to keep, let's see here, 4, 2, what am I on brush? On 1, 2. Okay, let's hide this for now. Okay, let's hide that for now. Hide that for now, don't save. Palettes, there we go, okay. And we can just like skip around and load from different, you know, load different pearls up. But I put them all in the same layer. That's another trick, so that I don't have to look for that layer that it's on, and that makes it faster and easier. And I put them on top of each other. So I've got the regular pearls, I've got the dark pearls, and I could just go on the layer, and even I could leave them turned on, but I can, you know, sample from this layer, and then I could just go here and sample from this layer, but I know, you know, they're all in the same spot. So just little like workflow things can be helpful. So I've got the regular pearls. Let's sample from here. Where are we here? Okay, so we're on a new, yeah, so we're in a new layer, and I'm just going to kind of follow this, and yeah, all right, we're not, let's see here. Okay, so that's fine. So we got a second petal. Let's keep going here. I feel like this should be smaller. So where's my, Oh yeah, here we go. I'm gonna put this palette over here. You're gonna rock and roll, option click. So I'm just sampling different ones as I'm, and you know what, palette flat, I'm gonna close you for now. Okay. So then, yeah, and I won't worry what it looks like in here because I'm only really gonna see the outside of this, you know, thing here. So, and the sketch layer is hiding it, but it's already looking nice. So it's looking okay. Making a new layer, and let's see here. So I won't really worry too much that it's perfect. And let's go here. Just take another one for 2. Okay. So yeah, I want to make sure that you can, I can always fiddle with these later, but I need to stop being so whatever. So I've got the first layer down. We're good. And then we're just going to keep moving inward. Oh, thank you so much, Julian. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to mark this as green because this is going to help me later. And then I want to make the next one, which the next one was like the next layer, which was what I was talking about, is going to have those more circular ones. And so I actually took the brush size down. So I actually saved this already for you guys. So I've got brush number 2 and let's see here. So I'm just going to do like kind of a nice little easy petals here. And this one, let's go get another sample here too. Okay, let's make a new one. There's 2. And there we go. Now, let's see here. Because here, like, also I wanted to make sure that I get that sort of, you know, you get some swirls in there and that you can see those swirls. Sometimes it's a little bit complicated, you know, you can play around. Anyway, okay. So let's just take a look at the next layer. Okay, it's going good. Yeah, it's going good. Okay. So we've got layer number 2. And now we're going to go into this like little ones here. So let's make a new layer. Going to mark that as green. And let's kind of look a little closer. All right. And then I have brush number 3. So I just took the brush size down a little bit. And just did like this. Okay, 1. Let's spice it up here. 2, make a new layer. And now notice that I'm getting the smaller brush size. So when I option click, it's like not really getting the whole pearl inside there. So on this one, I'm going to have to right bracket. So my brush is at 100, so I'm going to right bracket like 1, 2, 3 times, option click, and now I can get that whole thing in there. Okay. But when I go back to my thing, I want my brush back to 100, so I'm going to left bracket 1, 2, 3. Now we're back to 100. Okay. And we're good to go. Sometimes you do have to do that. Okay, new layer. And we did this one, this one, this one. Okay, we've got 2 more. And trying to do like a little swirlies in there so you can see like, all right, this one I'm going to go back to 3. Okay, because I want you to see like some movement. Okay, it's getting good. All right, so we're hitting save, make a new layer, and then now we're on our 4 that are around the center. So I'm going to mark that layer with a green, and I'm going to, I'll just stick with this brush number 3, Hey, Aina, really happy to see you. Yay. Oh, I got to check my other chat. I always forget. Okay, same people. William and Surya. Good. All right, so now we're going to do those 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and yeah, like when I do them, I'll just go like in this direct for this one, like the first petal, I'll do like counterclockwise and I'll do clockwise and just trying to keep that, make sure that I keep them, spice it up. There we go. So there's 1, there's 2. We're getting a little swirl in there. That's good. 3, and make a new layer, and 4. And then I'm going to make one last layer. That's the center. I'll put red. And here's my little center brush. And I just try to do like a little swirly button sort of thing in the, try to swirl it out. Here now I can turn off my sketch layer. Tried to get a little of that swirl in there. So it's pretty good. Okay. Maybe the one that I made before was a wee bit better per usual, but it's always nicer when I'm making them, not on my live stream. Okay, so now 2 seconds here, merged. Okay, I'm copying my drop shadow. So basically, okay, so I'm going to show you how I put them all together to make, and then I added a little bit of dimension and stuff. So I'm going to hit save. Okay, so first of all, we want to work non-destructively, so we want to keep a backup of this. So I'm going to take all of my layers. Let's see here, Command G, group them into a group. So this is our original. And then I'm going to Option, drag that group. Okay, so this is our merged. We'll call this our merged group. And then I'm going to take the, oh wait, this is reference. Okay. Trying to be that girl that names her layers. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take all these layers that are on the outer, the first level of, what do you call it? First level of the leaves, and I'm going to merge them. And then I'll do the same thing for the second level. Let me just group them to make sure I got the right. Okay, so I can merge them. And now the next level group, we will merge them. And then the last ones, merge layers. And then what I did was I put a little bit of a drop shadow on each of the layer groups, and you can just kind of play around with it. So I put like an overlay drop shadow here, you can see, and just kind of added a little bit of what do you call it, a little bit of like depth, to feel those like layers of those flowers. So now I kind of don't like how some of this turned out, but you can rotate them if you wanted. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to worry that it's not perfect, but you can see my perfect one over here. It looked so good. I'm so happy of it. Really? It is good. Okay. Let me just undo that one and undo this. Okay, I'm just going to leave it how it was. But if you did a good, like you can still play around with it. Like if you don't like some of them, let's see, here's one. I could do a couple things. I could take a smaller brush, and kind of play, go over it. You could even use this like alpha lock and take, this is kind of better actually. So you could take a brush and just kind of go over it. So, you can get over some of those dark areas. So that's something to consider as well. So if you're not like just 100% loving it, you can kind of fiddle with it a little bit. So I'm gonna hit save. Now I'm gonna un-alpha lock that. I might do the same thing over here. Like I got a lot of dark on this side, so I could alpha lock that and then go to my large brush and maybe take, oh, these are on the same layers. That's okay. So I could just, I could play with that a little bit, give it a little bit of a lighten it up there. That's kind of doable. Now it'll go into that next leaf because, now they're all on one layer, but you could play with that. Also, one thing that you could do, I'm going to hit save, is I have a little darkening. I just have like a soft basic brush with a low opacity. So if you wanted to add some of your own shadows, you could make a new layer above like whatever layer you're on, put a clipping mask, change that to like linear burn or something, and then you can just draw a little bit of shadows in there. So that's something, you can always do to add a little bit if you're not happy with like, some of the dimension or whatever. So that is doable. Ungroup. Let's see, unlock it. But that's all I did. So that's pretty it. So after I did all this, let's see here. This is my merged one. Hold on, I put them in the same group. And if you don't get anything, feel free to ask me any questions, or also if you're like pretty new to the technique, you can always check the foundation tutorial down below. Let's see, our demo merged. And then, so this is pretty good, whatever, it's fine. I'm gonna just keep one as a backup. And then what I can do is just merge the whole group. So now I've got the whole flower as one graphic. And then I think the best thing to do is to convert to Smart Object. So that's always good. Hit save. And let's see here. What else? So what I did here, I played around with some different things like changing the size of it, but because I wanted to really get that sort of look of like Rihanna's dress and everything. So this is kind of a fun background. What I did was I just duplicated them and I moved them, and I left some blank spaces back there. Having this kind of a light gray neutral background was really nice because you don't really know where they begin and end. But one thing that I did do is I made a new layer, and I took this darken brush and I just kind of like drew a little bit back here, and it just added a little bit extra depth, and it kind of gives you that sort of look. So I think that was cool. And so that's why I made this background. And what did I do? Okay, so yeah, I was happy with that. Oh, by the way, yeah, for as soon as I'm done with this, for my subscribers, I'm going to have all of the demo files, the brushes, the palettes, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to do all the experimenting like I did. You can just pick it up, play around, and have some fun. So that's really cool. And what else was I going to show you? Yeah, so I liked that. I think it could be really, even though, it's like her dress was all of them, like this, but you can just use this as a jumping off point, and one thing that I did play with that I liked was, let's see, I'll just show you. Oh, so I was playing with this motif. I do want to show you guys this before I get off. That's one thing that's really quite cool. So I was looking at her jewelry, she had some pearls in there, she had some diamonds, some sort of, kind of pave necklaces. So I thought that could be like a fun reference to play around with that sort of motif. And so this chain, I want to show you how I made it. So this is using a brush from my gold play collection. And normally I'm putting this brush in gold. It's really cool. But in this case, what I did was something different that I would like to show you. Is rather than sampling from the gold palette that gold play comes with, I actually put my jeweled one style from Creators Couture. This is a style, layer style that I made that's jeweled. And I sampled from this, and using the wet paint mixer brush, like it was gold, it created this really cool chain effect. And it's actually, I think it's quite cooler than even if I took the same shape here, and say I went and add that same jeweled layer style. So this is like jewel one layer style. So that's the layer style, and it doesn't look as like realistic and chain-like if I just add the layer style. Now my layer styles are cool, and there's a time and place for everything. That one looks a little bit better. But this is the jewel one layer style, or yeah, the jewel one layer style. Let me undo here, and I'm just going to show you how I did that. So basically what I did was I created this palette here. Okay, let's go over here to show you really quick this gold play brush. Okay, so this is Dry Decorative 35 from my gold play collection. And I'm just going to zoom in here. So it's preloaded with some gold so that whenever you just pick it up, you can just start drawing. And it's a really cool, you know, kind of a gold chain sort of effect. So that's really fun. But let's just make it a bit bigger. Let's see here. I want to get it like the size that I'm going to want to use it at. Okay, so what I did was I just put a color on the layer, and I applied the layer style. So I applied like, here is jewel 2, here's pave. So I just put jeweled 1 color on the whole layer just to give me this whole color palette, or this whole palette. And then I'm going to go ahead and right click, and I'm going to rasterize the layer style. So now it's just an image, so I can sample from it. And so now I'm going to take that gold play brush and option click and load up these, you know, this jeweled, what do you call it? The image into my brush, and it's using, obviously this is using a dry, yeah, it's like a dry brush. And so now when I go and I paint it, then it repeats that same thing. So it gives it a more dimensional effect. And it's basically the same principle as like when we're loading up the gold, you know, for the gold play. It's the same sort of principle. So it gives it a really cool sort of vibe. So I thought that was just a fun little, here's the brush. I've actually already saved it for you loaded up. And I just put a little drop shadow to add something fun. And so I was just kind of playing around with this. This was like kind of a little bit of my mood board, because once I got the like the brush, you know, that I wanted to do, then I was just playing around with that idea with the inspiration from her jewels, you know, the pearls and everything. So that's how I did the necklace, and and I already have it saved for you as a brush, and I'll have the palette and stuff here for you. But I would like to I think I will like to play around and do something kind of abstract with this. Like I did the flower, like here, you know, I did the flower and everything. And then, where is it? Oh, here I was playing around with this, but this, like, for me, it's too like literal. It kind of feels too bridal, because I was playing, like combining all the elements together. But this just, for me, I mean, it could be like nice, but it's just, there's something that's like not a bit modern with it. So I think that like something like this, I was just like, it's just personally not for me, you know, like doing just a little accents like this. It just kind of makes me think a little bit too bridal. So anyway, but you know, it's always experimenting. Let's hear, don't save. Always experimenting. But I did like just this effect of like this, you know, these brush strokes, and then this sort of, you know, necklace sort of motif. And then the last thing that I did, which I will just quick show, was the pearls. And oh, thank you so much, Paris. I'm super happy. I'm glad I went live on YouTube, even like my views be damned. Maybe I'll just put it live, and then I'll put it to like unlisted. I don't know. Just apparently for some reason, if you go live on YouTube, then it can just like, it just kind of tanks your views, I guess. I don't know why. Or if you're doing like longer videos. So anyway. And so yeah, the last thing I'm going to show you is the pearls. So I just, let's zoom out here. Let's, small pearl. Oh, there we go. So basically, let's hear. I wonder if this is exactly the same that I used. Oh yeah, it's pretty similar. So to get these like soft, you know, I didn't want it to be like I mean, I have actually played, like you could actually take a little pearl illustration, load it up into your brush, um, and just, stamp it around. It'll be fine. But I wanted this softness. And so I especially kind of created this brush here. Um, my brush, I'll just kind of give you a little look into it. It's got the default tip for Photoshop. I've got the hardness at 50, the spacing at like 95. So it's got that soft edges. And that's really all that I have. I could turn that off really. So it's just really to stamp. And it looks especially cool when we have a bevel and emboss and a drop shadow on it. It just adds that like depth and softness, because here's the brush without it. But there, when you add that bevel and emboss and the drop shadow, it looks really cool. And so what I did to get that really soft, cool pearl effect is I took my regular pearls that I had already made, because they're too sharp. And so what I did was I like refined them a little bit. So I actually think I did a radial blur on all of them to soften them. But I had to do that separately. So I did all the work for you, so you guys can have some fun. And I think I even did like just a little bit of a Gaussian blur to soften up some of those sharp, because some of those I had a little bit of a sharp tip there. And so when you're just essentially stamping that, you really feel that it doesn't look as nice. So I have a layer called Refine Pearls. And so then you can option click to like load those up into your brush and get that nice softness. So then if I go over here, then I can click here and, and then when I'm doing it on that layer with a little bit of a bevel and emboss, you can see my bevel and emboss settings are like, you just have to play with it, but I put the soften way up, and then the size, if for my for my size of my image, it's really just going to depend on like the dimensions that you're working in. So you just kind of have to play with it. This is at 27, and they're all in one layer, so it's a little bit different than if you had it on separate layers. But let me just scooch this here. You can see the bevel and emboss, so I just found a nice, nice whatever and left it at that. So yeah, it's just a classic bevel and emboss, inner bevel. These are my settings with a little bit of a drop shadow. And I just like that sort of effect. So that was just kind of a little more explorations that were kind of inspired by her jewelry. But I think that's pretty much it. So you guys can let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, I think that's it. I wonder how long my live stream was. Oh, it was a little bit long, this one. 20, yeah. I'm trying to keep them short, but this was a little bit, a little bit of a like more intense, because I wanted to show you not just like the final palettes that I created, but just show you a little bit of the process, because, for me to come to those kind of decisions, it's lots of experimenting. I don't just say, oh, I know exactly what this palette needs to be. It's a lot of me messing around and experimenting. Hey, Gabrielle, really happy to see you. Glad that you're tuning in from Brazil. Yay. I'm trying to do it as late as I possible here in Bulgaria, because I'm in Bulgaria right now, but because I know a lot of people that follow me are over on, that time zone. But yeah, so I'm going to bounce off. And also, one thing that I'm going to be announcing this week for people that are my subscribers is that on most of my stuff that I create here, my tools and tutorials, you get the demo files. But I will be making a big announcement about this, is that you can use the stuff that are in my demo files in your items for sale, if you create items for sale, as long as you're like a small bit, small business, not huge or whatever. But for people that are doing like their side hustle, they're making printable things or print on demand, whatever, you can use this as part of your for your stuff for sale. So I just want to bring more value to you guys. And so there'll just be like just a few projects where maybe I'm doing something that's like where you can't use it, but I'll be sharing that with you guys. So, but just wanted to drop that in today, that so you guys you could take this and you can even use it in your own projects. So, um, yeah, just I want my before I was like, oh, you can use this as a total blueprint, like make something exactly like it, but do it yourself. But now, I'm gonna for most of my projects, you can actually use the things that I create, like this flower, in your designs and stuff. Um, Oh yeah, Gabrielle, I'm glad you like her look. Yeah, that was fun. I thought it was really fun, and I really like to see that Chanel camellia or whatever. But anyway, all right. Well, it's been too long. I've rambled, and thanks for everybody who's tuned in. I was really glad I got to see you, Linda. Got to leave Deb, Katya, Claudie, David, Julian, and Gabrielle. Thank you guys so much, and I should be on probably about the same time tomorrow. So you can subscribe to my Google Calendar if you like, or just follow me on Behance, and you'll get a red dot at the top of your screen when I go live. But thank you guys, and thank you, and David. I didn't. Glad that I got to catch you if you're still on. And even if you guys aren't still on, you can just leave your iPad or leave your computer playing, so my minutes look good. My retention rate stays good. So feel free to just put me on and mute me in the background. Good. Enjoy your lunch, David. Thanks so much for the support. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yay! Glad to leave. Glad you liked it. Yay.